A 2022 Silverado 1500 owner brought his truck to the dealer. He sat in the waiting room. He signed the paperwork. He drove home thinking it was done. 2 weeks later, General Motors mailed him a second letter. The software installed during his recall visit was the wrong software. His truck is still at risk. And today, right now as you watch this, General Motors is sending that same letter to 1,054 other owners who made the same trip, signed the same paperwork, and drove home thinking exactly what he did. This is General Motors' 10-speed automatic transmission recall. If you own a full-size Silverado, Sierra, Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, or Cadillac Escalade from 2020 through 2022, the letter is either already in your mailbox or it is on its way. Here is what the letter does not tell you. General Motors quietly released a special coverage program, 15 years or 150,000 miles, that most owners have never heard about. There is a second filing buried inside the recall paperwork that entitles you to a full hardware replacement, not just a software update, if your truck is already exhibiting the problem when you bring it in. And there are 2 specific diagnostic codes that appear weeks before a complete failure, codes that are your leverage at the service counter before a single wrench turns on your truck. By the end of this video, you will know all 3, and you will know exactly what to say before any work starts. At the end, I will break down exactly what to do based on where you are right now. If you caught the last video on General Motors engines, this one picks up where that left off. Let's go. The GM 10L80, a unit roughly the size of a carry-on suitcase, bolted directly behind the engine in every full-size Silverado and Sierra from 2020 through 2022, is a 10-speed automatic. Inside that transmission is a component called the control valve body, a cast aluminum block roughly the size of a thick hardcover book, filled with oil channels and solenoids that control hydraulic pressure for every gear change the truck makes. Inside that valve body is a specific component called the feed limit valve, a cylindrical steel piece barely wider than a pencil, pressed into the valve body bore. That is the part that fails. When it wears down, it sticks. When it sticks in the wrong position, it can command a downshift from 8th gear at highway speed. And when that downshift happens on a 10-speed automatic, the rear wheels can lock. Briefly, a fraction of a second. But at 65 miles per hour on an interstate, a fraction of a second is not nothing. General Motors' own investigators documented 1,888 field reports describing the same rear wheel lockup condition, filed beginning January 2020. NHTSA formally inquired in July 2024. The recall was issued in October 2024. There were 4 years and 9 months between the first report and the recall. That is the documented gap between when General Motors knew and when federal action happened. The fix GM is installing at most dealerships right now is a software update. A service technician at a GM dealership connects a laptop diagnostic tool to the OBD port under the dashboard of your Silverado or Sierra and installs new transmission control module software. That software monitors the valve body for wear. When it detects deterioration reaching a threshold approximately 10,000 miles before a lockup event could occur, it limits the transmission to 5th gear and it triggers a service engine light and a reduced propulsion message on your instrument panel. Let me put a real number on what 5th gear means in practice. Actually, let me put 2. Fuel economy drops 10 to 15 miles per gallon because the transmission will not shift above 5th gear. Towing is severely compromised. One owner described driving his work truck in 5th gear for 2 months with no estimated arrival date on the part. That software update is not a repair. The valve body causing the failure is still in the truck. The software just tells you sooner that it is failing. That is what GM is calling the recall fix. And in my opinion, calling a software limiter a recall fix on a transmission that still has the failing part inside it is not a repair. That is liability management. But And this is the part no other video on this topic has covered. Buried inside the recall paperwork is a second filing. General Motors Special Coverage N242454441 calls for dealers to replace the valve body outright if your truck is already exhibiting the lockup condition at the time you bring it in. Not a software update, a hardware replacement. If your truck has been locking up before your recall appointment, you are entitled to a different repair than the one they will hand you by default. Most owners do not know this filing exists. Most dealers will not bring it up unless you do. In late 2024, General Motors released a special coverage program for 2020 through 2022 full-size trucks and SUVs. 15 years, or 150,000 miles, from the date the vehicle was first placed in service. That program covers the valve body repair, not just the software update, but the valve body repair. Even if your factory warranty has expired, even if you are the second or third owner, the coverage follows the vehicle identification number, not the original buyer. General Motors will cover that repair at no cost to qualifying owners. If you did not receive the notice, or if you threw it away, that coverage may still apply to your vehicle. Run your vehicle identification number on the NHTSA recall lookup. The link is in the description. If your vehicle identification number pulls the recall, call your dealer and ask specifically about special coverage N242454441 before they write any repair order. If you paid out of pocket for a transmission repair related to this condition before the recall was announced, you have a documented path to request reimbursement through the General Motors Customer Assistance Center. The number is in the description. If you paid for this repair before the recall was announced, I genuinely want to know what that cost you. Drop it below. That number matters. Now, before you walk into any dealership for this recall, there are two codes you need to have in your pocket. P0700 is a general transmission malfunction flag. P0730 is the incorrect gear ratio code. It means the transmission detected it was operating in a different gear than it commanded. A check engine light glowing amber on the dashboard of your Silverado or Sierra, with a diagnostic scan tool screen showing either of those codes, is the earliest electronic warning that the valve body is beginning to fail. These codes are documented in the recall filings. They are also your leverage. If you walk into the dealer and just say you are there for the recall, they write a software update, and you are out in 2 hours. Valve body still failing. But if you walk in and say you have been seeing intermittent P0700 or P0730, and you would like to reference special coverage N242454441 before any work begins, that is a different conversation. Those codes, combined with that specific filing, open the door to the hardware replacement instead of the software patch. You can pull your own codes with a basic OBD scanner, the kind that costs between $30 and $50 at any auto parts store and plugs into the port under your dashboard. Do it before your recall appointment, not after. Whatever shows up, write it down and bring it with you. Now for the part that is happening right now, today. GM issued a fourth recall notice, a second letter arriving in mailboxes across the country. N252516560, covering 1,055 vehicles across the 2020 Silverado, 2,500 and 3,500, the 2020 GMC Sierra, 2,500 and 3,500, and from 2020 to 2022, the Silverado 1,500 and Sierra 1,500. These are trucks that already went through the recall process. Their owners sat in the waiting room, signed the paperwork, and drove home thinking it was done. They received the wrong transmission control module software during the first repair. Their trucks are still at risk. The letters telling them this are being mailed today. If you went through the recall in late 2024 and your truck falls into one of those model year and configuration brackets, your name may be on that mailing list right now. Run the VIN check. Link is in the description. What you do next depends entirely on where you are in this right now. If you receive the recall letter and haven't gone in yet, scan your OBD port before your appointment and scan for codes P0700 and P0730. If either code appears, bring it to the appointment. Ask specifically about special coverage N242454441 before the repair order is written. Ask whether your situation qualifies for the hardware valve body replacement rather than the software update. Keep the repair order. If you already went through the recall and think you are done, check whether your VIN falls under the wrong software. Recall N252516560 on NHTSA recall lookup. Link in the description. If your truck is in that pool, you have not been fixed. Contact your dealer before symptoms return. If you paid out of pocket for any transmission repair related to this condition before the recall was announced, call GM Customer Assistance Center. The number is in the description. You may have a reimbursement case you do not know about. If you are looking at buying one of these trucks used, a 2020 through 2022 Silverado 1500, Sierra 1500, Tahoe, Suburban, Yukon, or Cadillac Escalade, run the VIN through the NHTSA recall lookup before you sign anything. Ask the seller which fix was installed, the software update, or the valve body replacement. A truck that received only the software update is still running on a failing valve body. A truck that received the Generation 3 valve body replacement under the recall with hardware replaced and documented on a dealer repair order is a different truck. Know which one you are buying. 4 years and 9 months, 1,888 reports, nearly 500,000 trucks, and a fix that GM's own documentation describes as a warning system, not a repair. Demand the repair order. That is the printed sheet the dealer gives you when work is complete. Demand the specific coverage filing number. Know the codes before you walk in. See you in the next one.